a news program from a Native perspective. Whether it's a flagpole raising or whether it's an elders conference, if it's important to the people and I make a story out of it, this is the most exciting, wonderful, fun time of my life. Hello and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green.
There's a heartbeat, louder than thunder, revolution is in the air. There's a heartbeat deep inside our mother. Are you too cool to care?
Hello everyone and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska, Native News and Native Information. I'm Jeannie Green. Well, it's a brand new season of brand new programs right here in Heartbeat Alaska, and we thank you so much for joining us. Today, we travel once again to Ahtna Country and visit with the good people of that area. I'll be back with Ahtna Country right after this.
There's a heartbeat, louder than thunder, revolution.
Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by Bristol Environmental and Engineering Services, serving Alaska since 1994, a subsidiary of Bristol Bay Native Corporation.
Hi, I'm Mark from Scan Home, and we are proud to sponsor Heartbeat Alaska.
Scan Home, serving all of Alaska's home and office furnishing needs. Thank you, Scan Home, for making Heartbeat Alaska possible.
Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by Brown's Electric Lighting Gallery. Thank you, Brown's Electric, for your generous support of Heartbeat Alaska.
Welcome back. Copper Center, Alaska is not only rich in copper, but it's known for its beautiful landscape as well. But what about the people that lived there for thousands of years? And how did the Western society influence their lives? Well, we'll take a look at that today. Also, we learned about the Indian chief who turned an invasion into an invitation. We meet the good people of Copper Center and how they're fighting to control substance abuse in their lives. Welcome to Copper Center, population 1,200. Now a quiet little town. Historical markers and old dilapidated buildings serve as reminders of a once booming community, a leaping off point for prospectors in search of their fortunes. In 1898, thousands of hopeful prospectors gathered in Copper Center on their way to the Klondike. But by the time they reached Copper Center, the rush of the Klondike was over. Some of these gold seekers turned back and headed home, but many stayed to prospect the area.
It became Copper Center because this became the center of the activity in 1898 from where everybody branched out to where they thought they were going. Yeah. Included in those was the men that made the major discoveries that ultimately became what became taken over by Kennecott.
Ron Simpson is a resident of Copper Center. He owns and operates an establishment called the Copper Rail Depot and has dedicated the past few years of his life to preserving the history of this region and its people. Ron recently wrote an 800-page novel that tells the amazing story of the young Chief Nikolai and his people at the time of the Great White Invasion.
My story tells how Nikolai chose to deal with this problem because he recognized that his people were about to be overwhelmed. There was no way to stop the advance. All he could do was figure out some way to work within what was coming. And this is the story that I have written as to how he went about doing that, and in my belief, how he was successful in making it possible for his people to not only survive but for those that did survive to actually prosper in the context of the Copper River and Northwestern Railway.
The Copper River Northwestern Railway, a 196-mile stretch of railroad that would haul over $200 million worth of copper ore from Kennecott to the coast at Cordova for 27 years.
The railroad is the center of everything. It's what brought the life into the valley. It's what changed the Ahtna way of life here forever, much more than the U.S. Army did, because the railroad brought with it everything. It brought in the civilization and the hordes of people and everything else that changed everything. One of the things that I kept running into, especially with the Indian people that come here, is they said, well, what does this have to do with us? The people here have forgotten what the railroad was, and I realized that it was important that they know what that railroad meant to the generations of people that lived here from 1900 to 1938. And that was a primary motivator in writing that book, because I wanted them to understand. This is a book that'll make any native feel really good about being native. Because this man, Nikolai, was probably one of the greatest men that ever existed, in my opinion, because of his ability to take a very tough situation and make it work under the almost impossible circumstances. Especially when you consider that most of what he did was accomplished when he was aged 18. That's amazing. A lot of the natives today think they were just victims, of what happened, and I have a problem with that. I wanted to write a story that made us a lot more than victims. I wanted to make some of our people heroes. I found a way to do it.
Ron has also found a unique way to revisit the past.
This is the Kennecott of 1920. Most of this does not exist anymore because you're looking at the center section that was destroyed about 1968. This area right in dead center was referred to as Staff Row. You have the staff house itself, which is where the engineers lived.
With over 10,000 hours of research and modeling, Ron recreated the Kennecott of the early 1900s, complete with tandem locomotives for hauling the heavy loads of copper ore.
In the early days of Kennecott, all the ore trains were run in tandem. That is, they had two locomotives pulling the ore up because one wouldn't do it. By 1915, they switched to a bigger locomotive that weighed 95 tons, and they were able to run them just as a single locomotive, the 196 miles from Cordova to Kennecott and back. Except for the crossings at Chitna, the grade from Chitna for 6 miles up a hill and the grade from McCarthy to Kennecott both required pushers. So at those spots, Chitna and McCarthy, they kept extra locomotives to be on hand to give the train a little extra push. What I envision doing is being able to read passages out of the book right here. We found from our dedication ceremony that we had at the end of May for this model that it works very well because the public can sit there, have the model in the background, and it gives them a visual aid when you're telling them something about Kennecott or the railroad. It's more just a sense of history. Too many people forget. I wanted to bring a sense back of what had happened. Kennecott represented, until the Alaska pipeline came along, the single largest privately financed construction project in Alaska. The mine that was Kennecott was actually 5 copper mines, was the richest producer of any kind in Alaska. It exceeded every rich gold mine, and its output exceeded the total value of entire gold districts in Alaska, including the Fairbanks Gold District. It was just that big. Few people remember it. When you think of Alaska, you think of the gold. This was bigger. And in terms of its impact on natives, this was bigger.
Stay 6 seconds.
But the biggest impact on the Ahtna people today does not come from the mining of copper or the hordes of prospectors. It comes from alcohol and drugs. The people of this region have taken these negative influences and turned them into positive experiences.
It's the 7th annual gathering. We started 7 years ago through the board of directors at Copper River Native Association. At that time, there was already this energy going towards improving the communities, creating alternative activities in the absence of alcohol and drugs, showing that even tradition required there be different opportunities to gather together and have a good time.
And a good time was had by all at the softball tournament, a 3-day event that captured the attention of Copper Center.
The teams, they come out to visit from far away, and I really feel that's good. You know, when we have our awards, it builds it up more, you know. We got good players out here. We got good players in the other villages too, you know. But when we have that, that's more important though. Being a team. Where we are, we say we're a team because we help one another. You know, we can't always be out in the community, but to do that, it really bonds everybody together.
It gives the people a chance to get together. It's a friendly competition. At the same time, we see cousins and aunts and uncles that live, you know, hundreds of miles away. It goes back in time. It's always been a time throughout the year, certain times throughout the year, where the peoples of the region would gather together, swap stories, share a little food together, a time to renew acquaintances, make new friendships, just a good time.
Everybody in the Copper River region is related one way or another. So it's like one big family, and we need to all work together to become a stronger community. And that by putting this gathering together, it's brought all the villages closer, and to have a good working relationship, I mean, and to show the younger people that we can work together. And by doing it all together, it has made it stronger.
Some of it's 2 for a quarter, some of it's a quarter.
And what would a gathering be without an elders rummage sale? That's right. The elders were offering the best deals in town. So good that even our cameraman had to get a little something for himself. And in the evening, it was a time for the people to come together and share. Even the kids took part in the Athabascan fiddling and dancing, which was provided by a group from the village of Huslia, who had traveled 400 miles to be part of this great gathering. It was truly a community event.
There's a heartbeat louder than thunder. Revolution is in the air.
Mom, Dad, You are miserable parents. I snuck out. You caught me.
I lied. You knew.
I pushed. And you pushed back.
Invaded my privacy.
My privacy.
I hated it.
I hated you.
Why couldn't you leave me alone?
Just leave me alone.
I thought you were the worst parents in the world.
I thought you were the worst parents in the world.
Thanks.
The gift of past experiences handed down. There are no greater lessons.
Heartbeat Alaska chooses the Longhouse Hotel, the official hotel of Heartbeat Alaska. And this is where we choose to house our guests that come from all over the world to spend time with us. And this is where we hope you will choose to spend your time when you come to Anchorage. Choose the Longhouse Hotel, the official hotel of Heartbeat Alaska.
Come in.
Come in.
He came in.
Day 2 of the softball tournament. The competition is getting tougher. To watch the people celebrating their heritage, their pride, and their sobriety looks so easy, so natural. But this community has struggled to reach its goals, and it has taken the cooperation and unity of the people of Copper Center to fulfill their visions.
I think there's a good change, but it's a collective responsibility. I believe that when you look at change, when you look at the empowerment of people, there's not a single individual that can kind of stand up and wave the flag or take the credit. I think that when you look at even the development and the historical aspect of the gathering, which we're going through this weekend, it just didn't happen overnight. A lot of wisdom was searched for from the elders, sitting down, talking with them. What were the type activities that indicated healthy communities in the past? What are the things that we should be thinking about in dealing with the communities and the problems of today? Once you get that knowledge base from the elders, then it's a matter of going into the community and saying, what's the vision? Where do you want to go with yourselves?
In the last 10, 15 years, we lost count of how many people we lost in alcohol-related. But after the gathering came on, then it started to show that it's less and less now. I've seen the younger people are getting more involved in all the activities, and it makes me proud that they're going that route.
And as the quality of life improves for the people of Copper River region, so do the hopes for a stronger economic base.
I would say that we're at the beginning of what may be a major tourist boom here. Princess Hotels is moving in. They'll be in operation next year. The Park Center will have the visitor center a few miles up from here. And this is the jumping off point into the park across the river, of which there's between 12 and 13 million acres of park over there. And we're sitting on the edge of it. And that's probably what it's going to be, is a semi-developed entryway into the park.
But with the seasonal tourism that will make its way through Copper Center comes the need for more services for the community and its visitors.
Substance abuse is a prime example. It's one of the things that we've been very fortunate in working together that we've turned the corner on. We've got healthy communities. We've got sobriety that has taken hold. There's not a state dollar that goes into the Copper Valley to support substance abuse services. Now you add an economic impact. You add thousands, if you listen to the estimates, at least for a 3-month period, thousands of additional people transiting through the valley. That increases the pressure on your social service systems, substance abuse, mental health, all those things that deal with the fundamentals of human beings.
Not to mention the negative outside influences, drugs and alcohol making their way into Copper Center.
18 to 13, Sharon.
That's why events such as the gathering are so important to the people of this valley. Not only are they celebrating their accomplishments, but they are preparing themselves for whatever the future holds.
There's a heartbeat, louder thunder, revolution is in the air.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Green with Heartbeat Alaska. What is Heartbeat Alaska? It's a program created just for you. A program whose subject matter, Native Americans and Alaska Natives. We thank you for joining us, no matter what culture you're from. Heartbeat Alaska is like a journey. We take you to remote villages across the north, but most importantly, we take you home.
It's trying to get attention from the community, trying to get the community involved with their teams.
Their culture is very strong, like with Eskimo dancing and singing. There's a lot of youth that participate in that.
Dancing is very important. I love dancing.
Watching. Yeah, having your own experiences.
Everybody know where they're going? Everybody know their positions?
At the break of dawn, teams are taking the field. It has come down to this: 6 teams competing for bragging rights and that first place trophy.
Kennecott had some teams in there, but it's a mixture of all the villages. They join in on other teams, so. And the non-native community gets involved in the local Bible college, so it's not just the villages, it's the whole community of the Copper River area.
In the co-ed championship game, it would be the CRNA Sluggers taking on the Alaska Bible College.
They're probably the tightest team as far as middle age and youth and elderly go. They got the mix and
Ball 2 inside.
they got a tight field, a nice defense. Not very good on their bats, but this is our probably 4th time this year, and we've won 2 and they've won 2. This is pretty much the breaker here. Yeah, that's 5 games. This is the 5th game we played in this year. It's gone. It's gone.
Come on, Jackie!
For the women's championship game, it would be the CRNA ladies against the Hands Angels out of Glen Allen.
Run, back.
The importance of this game is just to have fun. We're all here to be together and have fun and do our best. That's all we're looking for here today.
If we win, it's just a good accomplishment. We threw together a team real quick, and we only had 1 practice to begin with, and I just hope that we can pull together and do it.
And in the men's league, it would be Wells Fargo taking on the visiting Northway team.
Only do what you can only do. Let's go. Let's get some bats alive. Let's go. Let's go.
Is that 2 outs? I hit a ball. And it hit the ground. And then it hit her. Oh gosh, no. Go ahead. Oh. Okay.
Are you okay? Good job. Let's go, Mike.
First place, co-ed, Alaska Bible College.
At the end of the day, victory would go to the Alaska Bible College for the Co-Ed League. In the women's division, the Hands Angels would take first place. As for the men's league, the spoils would go to the local Wells Fargo team. It was a weekend of fun for all of those who took part in the 7th annual gathering, a success story that truly reflects the community's visions.
Thank you, Copper River Native Association, for helping us with this story. Thank you all the good people in the Ahtna region. We'll be visiting the Copper Center region again in a few months. We have a story on the treatment center, a beautiful story about a beautiful plan to help the people in that area on the road to wellness. And thank you for joining us for Heartbeat Alaska. God bless every single one of you. We'll see you again next week.
I got married.